And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon, and we are settled in here for another edition of Primetime here on this evening, this Tuesday evening, and a cold one at that, Chad. And, cold one here, not a cold one out in California, where I think I'll have plans to head out to later on this year. And that's what I was thinking of all day. When I stepped down and I felt the cold, I was like, you know what? I could be in California, or maybe even Texas. I'll be in Texas next month, and usually, I think my last trip in March there was around like 70s, 80s. So I'll take that. But I was thinking West Coast. I was thinking Texas today. I was thinking something just good vibes. But with all that being said, we're going to talk about a lot of great stuff. Andrew Berry went and talked to the media today at the NFL Combine. Cavs are finishing up right now against the New York Knicks. We'll talk about them a little bit later on, and then, of course, our Tuesday top five. But before we get into any of that, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing pretty well, man. We're close to spring. We're, 25 days away from spring now? Less than a couple of weeks away from the time change. So we're going to lose an hour of sleep, but that's okay. We'll gain some daylight at the end of the day. I can deal with that. Yeah, we're getting there, man.
Yeah.
I see the light at the end of the tunnel, man. I'm pretty good.
Yep. Absolutely. Good to hear. Good to hear. And you know what? Spring football will start back up with college football. Ohio State, the spring game, and then obviously we'll have OTAs. We'll have the draft taken up. All this just culminating here very soon. Getting ready ultimately for fall and for the 2026 NFL season. It'll be the first season for Todd Monken as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and it'll be interesting to see how he kind of navigates this season. A pretty much new staff entirely. Brought some guys over from the Ravens, and then just some interesting hires. Obviously, with Jim Schwartz moving out as defensive coordinator, or not even just resigning. Like the first ever holdout / resign. Yeah, crazy. But seeing that and seeing how Todd Monken's going to handle this offense, Shador Sanders, Quinshad Judkins, Harold Fannin, the guys on offense, how is the defense going to respond? And then kind of seeing what Andrew Berry does. This is a very important draft, Chad. We saw how pretty good Andrew Berry, I think that's a pretty solid word choice, is pretty good in terms of his draft. I mean, there's still, the jury's still out on a few. As much as I'm a big Shador Sanders guy, we still got to see like a full season worth of Shador Sanders to know what we exactly have. But I think it's going to be good and promising. But so far, pretty good. Mason Graham was an excellent pick. Carson Schlesinger, excellent pick. Now this draft is going to be pretty important for Andrew Berry. That, on top of adding a free agency class where, okay, pretty much nobody returning from the offensive line. I mean, what do you make of this, free agency and everything for the Browns? And I guess like the draft, add that in there too, and then we'll kind of dive into some Andrew Berry comments because he did speak today at the NFL Combine.
Yeah, he spoke in Indianapolis, and we'll have some words from Todd Monken tomorrow. But today it was Andrew Berry. It was the GM, and listen, he talked about a lot of the things you just mentioned, right? The offensive line, it needs completely retooled. Free agency, will they, won't they? It's like a Ross Rachel situation. What are the Browns going to do? Will they date free agents? Will they not date free agents? No, I think they're going to have to do something. But he did talk about that. Let's start with because he was asked. And by the way, all these Andrew Berry videos are courtesy of Spencer German from 92 The Fan at Spencido _ on Twitter. If you want to find him there, on X, I guess, formerly known as Twitter. Let's start with. So Andrew Berry was asked if 5 rookies was too many to start on the offensive line, and here's what he had to say.
I don't think there's a fixed number there. If they're the right ones. If you're telling me I get Tristan Wirfs, Penny Sewell, and Tyler Linderbaum, yeah, sure, I'll take it. Yeah, those guys as rookies, yeah, sign me up.
Okay, so breaking news. Andrew Berry wants the consensus top 3 offensive linemen in the draft. Whoa, huge breaking news. No, but I mean, it's a valid question, right? Like, are you going to totally rebuild through the draft? Are you going through free agency? Are you going to do whatever? Who are you looking for in free? Are you looking to be aggressive? He also addressed that question. And Eli, that's something that you and I have talked about on this show. We've talked about it on the Sunday Sports Show with Ryan Mosser and TK Dandridge. The Browns probably aren't looking at next year as the year. Sometimes you have to know your limitations. You have to know yourself, right?
Yeah.
Know thyself. But yeah, the Browns aren't looking at a 12, 13, 14 win season. So Barry addressed that, the notion that whether or not this would be the year to be aggressive or maybe next offseason. I'll just let you listen to his words.
I would anticipate that there's at least the chance that we would be a little bit more aggressive more aggressive than last year. But it'll be targeted and opportunistic. I think, realistically, we may be one more offseason away from being like hyper aggressive in that window. But if there's something that fits us, fits our roster, fits our timeline, then it's certainly a swing we'll take.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's fair, right? I think it sounds like maybe for once the Browns are thinking along the same lines as a lot of us who are on the outside looking in, right? We don't see them as a 1 year turnaround, go to the AFC Championship or even make the playoffs type of team. So, I mean, listen, nothing wrong with being a little bit optimistic about your team. That's fine. But I think just being realistic, I think the ceiling that you could expect is probably, 7-8 wins at the very best. Depending on how the division goes, we've seen 8 and 9 certainly over the last couple of years, even just last year, win the division, right? You've seen that happen.
Yeah.
We've seen teams under 500 win a division before, so it's not unrealistic to think that it could happen. It's just, with the Ravens and the Steelers likely not falling off the face of the earth, I don't know that 8 and 9 is going to get it done in this division. Almost got it done last year, but
Yeah, in those defensive lines, you look at those defensive lines, especially, Pittsburgh, Baltimore with Jesse Minter there, you wonder how that defensive line is going to get retooled there in Baltimore. Trey Hendrickson, in Cincy, they still have some guys at least formidable on the defensive side of the ball, but ultimately the Browns having no veteran presence really right now in this line, that's what scares me the most. Out of all the clips we've seen thus far is like, you can draft 5 rookies and they can be great, but I still think you need somebody as a veteran presence to kind of, I don't know, hey, here's how you've done this. Here's how I've done this in the NFL for the last 10, 12 years. We don't have that right now. We definitely don't have at least a lot of that, I should say. But that's my concern.
Yeah, there's a couple of leaders, here and there on the team. Most of them are on the defensive side of the ball, but it's very concerning when you talk about the entire offensive line again. Not returning for a team that hasn't been good. It's not as if you've got a top 3 quarterback in the league and the best receiver room and a couple of the maybe number 4 and number 10 running backs or something. It's not. We don't have that, right? We don't really know what we have on offense because the offensive line was so inept really last year. They couldn't get it done. They couldn't keep whoever the quarterback was. They couldn't keep him in the pocket. They couldn't keep him upright. They couldn't keep him in the pocket long enough to go through progressions and actually find an open receiver.
Yeah.
Gabriel had a lot of trouble on his own doing that when he did have time. For whatever reason, right? Dylan Gabriel he struggled, and maybe that's not indicative of who he is going forward. I don't know. But it's hard. Like I said, we don't really know what we have at quarterback. We don't know what we have at receiver. We don't know what we have on the offensive line because there's nothing, right? So it's being completely retooled. And I think just Andrew Berry talked about that. We'll get into what he said about kind of the draft strategy or whatever, and then we can maybe go into the quarterback position because he specifically spoke about Shedeur Sanders as well. But let me just play these last 2 videos. Like I said, just Andrew Berry on the Browns, I think where their head is going into the draft.
I think you've heard me say over the years that the draft, it's really for like highest sustainable impact. And that's not to say that need or positional value doesn't have some role in that. But at the same time, it's not like you're just going to match your picks to the best of whatever. I mean, I think about a year ago at this time, I wouldn't have guessed that the draft would have played out positionally the way that it did in 2025. And you have to be flexible, you have to be adaptable in terms of where the player pool and where the talent pool is. I think the good thing about this coaching staff, really in all 3 phases, is they are very adaptable to using your best player. So you have to be open to the fact that it may not look exactly the way that you'd envision it or that you'd hope that it would look coming out of it.
Okay, listen, a couple of interesting things that I picked out from that. Again, he mentioned that the coaching staff that they have there now is good at adapting, the system to the players that are there, right? It's what we talk about with Todd Monken all the time about how he can just kind of, warp the offensive game plan around whatever it is, or whatever it is they lack. I was gonna say whatever it is they have. and also whatever it is that they lack, right? That could be a way of looking at it for the first year as well.
Yeah. It makes me think, too, Chad, like, does that mean best player available? Does that mean, like, wherever the Browns are sitting at, if that means 6, if, that means they're their first round pick, if that means in the second round, does that mean best player available? If Caleb Downs on the defensive side of the ball is sitting there, or Arvell Reese, are the Browns going to be taking a guy like that? Or are they just going to kind of look for, obviously, what we've kind of talked about on this network, throughout many shows, me and you and other, talent here on the network, we've talked about it being wide receiver, offensive line.
Yeah.
Obviously, they need to retool. We need a backup tight end now with David Njoku not coming back. But line and receiver stand out big time. But if Caleb Downs is sitting there at 6, and you hear Andrew Berry talking about how they're able to adapt, do you just go Thanos? You go full Thanos on this defense and put, Caleb Downs next to Grant Delpit on the safety side. I don't know. It makes you wonder what the Browns are necessarily planning. Because you have 2 standout receivers, 3 if you want to put Mekhi Lemon in there, but you have Carnell Tate, and then you have Jordan Tyson, and you look at these guys and you're like, okay, this might be an option for a wide receiver 1. But then you look at Caleb Downs and you look at, okay, he's the best player probably in the draft class. So it makes me wonder what the Browns are thinking, if they are in the mindset of where they were, almost 10 years ago when they were stockpiling draft picks. I'm kind of like doing the OKC thing before OKC, where they were just stockpiling a ton of draft picks. They just weren't executing on a ton of them. But they were stockpiling them, and it makes you wonder if they're going to do that here at 6. If Caleb Downs is there, if a team's hungry enough to come up and get him, they can move back, still keep multiple firsts in the draft, and maybe acquire one for next year. So, because this is, like you said, this is not a one-year fix-it-all, 12, 13 game win season next year. Maybe. Crazier things have happened, but if we're being realistic here, the odds are that the Browns are going to have to retool, see where they can get to in terms of the progression of the quarterback, Shador, the offense, Fannin, Judkins, whoever they draft at receiver, and then move forward from there.
Yeah, I think you have to look at it through your orange and brown colored glasses a little bit, right? Like, you have to be a little bit realistic. And things could happen. I mean, you never know. Shador Sanders' development could skyrocket from year 1 to year 2, and he could come in at OTAs and be like, man, I really I'm starting to get this NFL. I'm starting to get the speed of the NFL. Now I've got a coach that can break it down to me a little bit better. He can kind of tailor a system around my skills and around the strengths of here, like these guys that are here around me, right? As opposed to just going, hey, here's the system that we run. Man, if we ever find the guys that fit into this, we're going to be dangerous, right? It can't work that way. But I think the other thing that he said was you have to know he didn't expect the draft from last year to play out the way that it did positionally, and you have to know where the player pool and the talent pool is. I almost wonder if that's a little bit of a smokescreen for saying, like, hey, man, I'm sorry I drafted 2 quarterbacks. I'm sorry I took Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. Like, it almost felt like, hey, it wasn't – what could I do? That's just where the talent was. But I think we all agree that was a little bit of a reach. Right? Nothing personal against Dylan Gabriel. I just feel like that particular pick was just a bit of a stretch, a bit of a reach. I think Gabriel would have been there 4th, 5th, maybe even later in the draft. So, a strange pick. There was something else that you said that I wanted to respond to, but I'm old and I forgot what it was. So we're going to move on. That's okay. It happens. But yeah, what are you going to do? He also talked about Shador Sanders, and I don't think that there were a couple other videos, clips of him talking about taking a quarterback every year and why that's okay. And honestly, I couldn't stomach it. I don't want to see them draft a quarterback. Oh, I was going to talk about taking defense. We were talking about the first round of the draft, and there have been a lot of rumors that the Cowboys have maybe been rumored to be flirting a little bit with moving up to get that 6th pick from the Browns, which would likely cost them 12 and 20. And now if you're the Browns, you have 12, 20, and 24 in the first round. I think you do that. I think it's not an overwhelming jump back from 6 to 12, right? If Caleb Downs is there at 6 and you trade back and you get those 3 picks, I think you still get more value in the first round at 12, 20, and 24 than you do at 6 and 24.
That's only, I feel like, if you can ensure you get one of those receivers, though, Chad. I've seen some few mocks where Tate and Tyson have gone back to back in the top 10. So I don't want to risk it where, maybe Mekhi Lemon is the guy, but right now all the evidence shows Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson are your top two receiving prospects. I just wouldn't want to risk where you play yourself out of not getting either one of those guys. I think the Browns have to end up with one of those guys.
Yeah.
Just listening to Ryan Mosser here on the network talking about how there's a lot of depth here in the offensive line. I think you can get away with, and if you were to do a trade back with the Cowboys, you end up with the 12th pick and can still get Tate or Tyson. You can still get one or two linemen with those other 2 first-round picks. But they have to address the receiving room.
We can talk about it tomorrow night. I actually did a mock draft. I did one. I forget what website it was, but I did a mock draft over the weekend. I texted Ryan, and I said, "Ryan, how'd I do, man? Like, check it against your algorithm." And he was like, "Nice. You actually got like my, he told me that his favorite. I think favorite left tackle, second favorite right tackle, a couple of decent receivers. And I made the trade with the Cowboys. They actually in the mock draft they proposed the trade, 12 and 20 for 6, and I took it. And I thought, whatever. I mean, it's a mock draft. Or it's a mock draft. What's the worst that can happen? And I felt like I did okay. We can put it on. I'll make a graphic up or whatever. I took a screenshot of it. We can talk about it tomorrow night. Not to toot my horn, but I just as an option for something the Browns can do that I think is feasible and realistic that would give you 3 first-round picks this year without losing a ton. I mean, you're only going back 6 picks. There's still a way to get your receiver. There's still a way to get your offensive tackle.
Yeah.
And there's even a way to get maybe a sneaky steal. Hold on. I said I don't want to take a quarterback. But even in the 4th round, take a flyer on a very, very athletic quarterback that could pan out. And if it doesn't, it's a 4th round pick. It's not a waste, right? It's okay. And that's filling most of those holes. Wide receiver, that's getting 3 offensive linemen before taking that quarterback, right?
Yeah. I just think they got to see what they got with the quarterback room. I think if you're going to address it, I think I'm more okay with them bringing in a guy like Mac Jones and just bringing some competition in for Shador. But okay. I think they just got to nail this draft.
I think bring a guy like Mac Jones and he's the starter.
Nah, I don't know. I don't think it's that cut and dry. I mean, it depends. I guess it depends on the contract, right?
And I think you have to take the door. I think you're in a position where, right? Like that's too much smoke at the backup. Like you can't have.
But you already have Dylan Gabriel. I feel like if you're the Browns, why would you? That'd be 3 quarterbacks drafted in the last 2 years. I mean, I get no first round. None of them were first rounders, but still, yeah. I mean. A 3rd round on Dylan Gabriel, a 5th on Shador, and then if they were to draft another one, you're saying here in the 4th, I don't know, Chad. I know me and you agree on some things here. I think the Browns would be better off just, hey, draft somebody in the trenches. You can never have enough defensive linemen, offensive linemen. I mean, we were seeing the Browns down to their 4th center last year, I think, near the end of the year. So yeah. I just don't think quarterback should be in the cards unless they're going to address it through free agency or something like that.
That's fair. I mean, I wouldn't argue with you there. But just hearing that Andrew Berry is planning on doing something in free agency, you would think they would bring in at least an offensive lineman or 2. I feel like that's probably, you've seen teams swing and miss on offensive linemen just in the past 2 or 3 seasons. But I was going to say, I feel like that's that's the safest position to bring in free agent wise, right? Like it's not as easy as putting a running back in there. You literally can plug a running back in and just have them play, right? I mean, you don't have to know a ton about the offense to take the ball from the quarterback and look for a hole and be patient and hit the hole.
Right.
Trying to hit whatever. Maybe for picking up some blitzes, you have some things to learn or whatever, but I think you can pick that up quickly. To be, a contributor as far as, rushing yards. I mean, I just think you can put a running back there and do whatever. It's not quite like that with offensive line, but it's also nowhere close with a quarterback or a wide receiver. So, it's hard to argue with you as far as putting guys in the trenches on either side of the ball. I really wouldn't argue. And I think in my mock draft, I think I even got Arvell Reese. So
that's not bad.
That's not bad at all. I'd have to take a second look at it. But let's just hear what Andrew Berry said about Shador Sanders. Speaking of quarterbacks and bringing someone in or whatever, listen to Andrew Berry in Indianapolis again. Hold on.
I think the biggest thing that we want to see from Shador is just continued growth. I think he grew a lot from start 1 to start 7. I think certainly playing more efficiently, not putting the ball in harm's way as much would be important. While maintaining the ability to produce out of structure and generate explosive plays. You're not going to see all of that in the upcoming months because we're not on the field. So the biggest thing that he can do is learn the new offense. Get in with the coaching staff once our offseason program starts. continue to work on his body physically, and then make strides when we actually get on the grass.
Okay. It sounds like Andrew Berry is going into the season expecting Shedeur to take that step and show that he's that guy, right? I don't know how the rest of that went. I don't know that. Again, that's 35 seconds taken completely out of context. With I've got a little bit of a question of what was asked, but I don't know what he went on to say. I mean, for all I know, he could have said, "But we're actually eyeing Dylan Gabriel as the starter." Who knows? But it sounds to me just from that clip that Barry and maybe some of the other, I don't know, ownership, front office, I don't know about the coaching staff, but it sounds like they're expecting Shedeur Sanders to kind of take that next step and maybe show that he can be the guy here, right? Or at least show that he can progress enough to, move toward being the guy, I guess.
Yeah, they were definitely talking like, he'll definitely be involved a bunch in that room, whether he's going to be the starter or, at least competing for the job. It won't be a conversation like last year where, is he going to even get the chance to compete for the position and for the, the opportunity there. So this year he will get the opportunity. It seems like Andrew Berry, unless they're wowed by a quarterback, I keep hearing rumors of maybe Ty Simpson making the Browns fall in love with him and drafting him in the first round, with that other first round pick. I'm not a fan of it.
Don't love that.
Not a fan of it. Yeah, and I mean, unless something like wows the Browns, or they do take a flyer on a guy and he tends to pan out, maybe a Drew Aller out of Penn State or whatever. I just think it's Shedeur Sanders' season in Cleveland next year, and I think fans should really start shaping their idea around, okay, what pieces are going to be around Shedeur Sanders, because I mean, what quarterback are they taking? We started the season talking about if there was an opportunity, it was going to be Mendoza. About midway through the year, people are talking Mendoza, talking Dante Moore. Well, Dante Moore is back in school. Mendoza's a Raider. I mean, you might as well say it's complete. I mean, I get it's not a done deal yet, but it may as well be a done deal. So you look at that. So Ty Simpson being the best quarterback option available, I don't know. I'm just not a fan. So, you look at that. I just think Shedeur Sanders is the starter. I think the Browns are going to look to tool around him. Linemen, receivers, addressing tight end, getting depth there. And just, I mean, maybe even looking at running back again. We kind of talked there a little bit, but like looking at running back and addressing that, getting a 1B to Quinshon Judkins 1A, because Dylan Sampson, he's had a few opportunities and just hasn't really wowed anybody. So maybe a depth running back for him there, but not a 1B that we need. Like when the Browns were thriving, when they had Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, a 1A, 1B. So I think the Browns should get back to that model. Todd Monken being here in 2019 had that model, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye if they do make a free agency splash.
Yeah.
I know we've seen some hypotheticals. We'll talk about it probably later on this week about the A.J. Brown hypothetical trade and just about receivers potentially getting to Cleveland. Tyreek Hill, obviously a free agent right now. Can the Browns, will the Browns, should the Browns? All those questions of like, should they grab one of these veteran wide receivers, spend a little bit of money on that position after just really we're almost out of the contract at Deshaun Watson, Chad. Like, do they go spend a ton of money on a receiver instead of like addressing it through the draft? So, but I'm curious because they have done that route again. Todd Monken was in town when Odell Beckham Jr. Was a Cleveland Brown. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that as well.
Are you saying there's an Odell Beckham Jr. comeback loading?
No, that is not what I'm.
Okay, and one more not serious thing. Would it change your mind at quarterback if you knew that Johnny Manziel was mentoring Diego Pavia?
No, it would not change my mind. It would actually, well, probably for the worse.
For the worse, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I saw that. Right. That's a real story, by the way. That's an actual story.
If we only had so much time, if they gave us more than an hour here on this prime time, we'd maybe tomorrow we'll dive into the Pavia Manziel. That has been a weird dynamic, but
it's so weird.
So weird. Odd. Hey, we're gonna take a quick break here. When we come back, Chad and I are going to talk about the Cavs. They took on the New York Knicks here in Cleveland tonight and took care of business. So we'll go over that and what it means for the Cavaliers. We'll talk a little bit of NBA roundup and how the Cavaliers and how fans should be feeling about their chances heading into the postseason, as we're just about a month and a half or so away before the NBA playoffs start back up. So with that being said, we're going to talk Cavs, and then after that, we're going to do our Tuesday top 5 later on in the show. We have our top 5. We're not going to tell you what it is yet. I did a good job of not revealing it in the open, so I'm not going to do it now. And with that being said, we'll tell you guys later on about it. So Chad Bryan to my right, your left, I'm Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. We're back right after this. And welcome back, everybody, to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon, and we have a lot to cover. We talked a lot of Cleveland Browns in that opening segment as Andrew Berry, he spent some time at the NFL Combine chatting with the media, so we spent some time dissecting that. Appreciate you tuning in. If you're just not tuning in, make sure you give us a follow, subscribe, all that fun jazz at Inside Edge Net on all the socials. Inside Edge Network, your source for sports, entertainment, mental health, everything in between. We appreciate you so much for tuning on in here with Chad and I. I have a lot of great programming throughout the week. I just want to make an announcement that we did not have a conversations with Eli Moon. I had to have my guest reschedule. We will have one either later this week or we'll double tape. We'll have a double episode out next week for you. Still figuring out the details on that, but a lot of great programming nonetheless here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad on Illegal Formation, Sunday Sports Show. Then here, obviously, on Primetime with myself. I'm over on Main Event, Conversations with Eli Moon, producing Real Talk with Papa Moon, and then, here on Primetime. So we are rocking and rolling. We have a lot of great stuff to talk about. We saw the Cleveland Cavaliers. They took on the New York Knicks today, and they got back on the winning streak here, Chad, as they took down the Knicks 109-94. And pretty impressive game for the Cavs. Obviously at home, a lot of talk. I mean, between Sunday and Tuesday, there was so much talk of, is this Cavs team the right rendition? Is James Harden the right fit? I mean, what happens if Jared Allen goes back to not being like Jared Allen in the last 7 games and this and that and this and that? And it seems like, things have cooled down for just a moment. Cavaliers had a pretty good effort from Donovan and James Harden tonight. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals from Donovan Mitchell. James Harden, 20 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Jared Allen, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks. And then 12 points and 7 rebounds from Evan Mobley. So pretty balanced effort there from the new core 4, whatever you want to call them. I'll have to think of a name. But a pretty good effort. And, this is the recipe. Jared Allen has to. We've talked about it on this show. We talked about it. I talked about it a little bit yesterday on Midnight Run with Anthony Alford, which program announcement tonight, obviously, Monday through Wednesday. Today is, last time I checked, Tuesday. So Midnight Run at midnight. Midnight to 1. Double A Anthony Alford. I'll be producing that for my bro, and he'll be talking about a lot of great stuff, including, I'm sure, this Cavs game against the Knicks. But
it's a fun show. By the way, I tuned in last night. I was watching after our show. I watched Midnight Run. It's a fun show, man. I like the late night style. I don't know. There's something about prime time and then super late night. It's kind of fun.
I love it. It's unhinged, and I'm nervous sometimes. It gets unhinged with Double A. But one thing we were talking about,
evicted out. You just got to keep him on the good the good graces of his neighbors, and he won't get evicted. Everything's gonna be fine. Just don't get there, man. Turn his volume down if you have to.
One thing we were talking about though is Jared Allen, and the recipe for success being him getting to that 20-point, or at least close to that 20-point threshold. 19 points tonight. And, you see the 10 rebounds, double-double. And, I mean, the other night wasn't bad. It was 11 points, 13 rebounds, but it was okay. It was efficient. It wasn't all-star Jared Allen. And right now it seems like the Cavs are going to have to lean on him, especially as a third option behind James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, to really get this done. Evan Mobley's going to have to pick and choose when he's going to get his shots up. Tonight he got up 7 shots, kind of role reversal. Jared Allen got up 8 tonight, not as many as Mobley the other night. But still more, a shot or 2 more than Mobley tonight. And I think that's where the Cavs need to kind of settle in, is allowing Evan Mobley just to pick and choose where he's going to get his shots in. He's going to be a force defensively, and that's where the recipe for success is. And then at that point, it doesn't seem like anybody in the Eastern Conference can really stand with them. And the Cavs do have 2 strong bigs. Are they tough? That's a different discussion. We always have come postseason time. But are they 2 7-footers? Yes. Do most teams in the Eastern Conference have 2 capable 7-footers that are maybe top 10, top 12 big men in the Eastern Conference, if not the league, right? No, they don't have that. So I think that's where the Cavs kind of have the Pistons, have the Knicks, and these teams, they just got to lean into their strength. Right now the strength is getting Jared Allen the ball early and often, and it's going to lead to success. So I think that was pretty big tonight for the Cavs there, Chad.
So let me ask you this. Do the Cavs want to play the half-court game, or do they want to run?
I don't know. I think it just depends on what they're feeling that night, to be honest. I think James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, you have that flexibility to do both. Mm-hmm. I think, they can run half-court and run some of the pick-and-roll action with Jared Allen, with Mobley, whatever. Or they can run, but I don't know if they're designed to necessarily run. Like, this isn't – I think when you had Okoro running up and down the floor and Ty Jerome, and I think it's a different team a little bit.
Garland, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're designed to more like find the open shooter and kind of just pick and choose where they're going to attack at.
I think who's better right now. I think that kind of lets them that allows them to kind of play this game where they, and they've got to figure it out quickly in the game. Obviously, they didn't do it against OKC. But I think you've got to figure it out quickly, but it kind of lets you decide if you're going to play off of Jared Allen creating opportunities for James Harden, or James Harden creating opportunities for Jared Allen. Kind of like you got to find that mix. And Evan Mobley in there as well, and Donovan Mitchell, obviously. But I'm just talking about the two specific, we talked about Jared Allen and James Harden playing off of each other. So that's why I brought those two up. But I just think it muddied that, I think, in the best way possible for me. I really don't know exactly what, and that's okay that we don't know exactly what their strength is. If they're a little bit, if they can be versatile, I think that's good. Not necessarily all the way one way or all the way the other. I don't know that they're 50-50 either. We'll have to watch them for a while, I guess, and see. But,
I'll say it's unpredictable. It's very unpredictable, and that's not a bad thing. Considering the Cavaliers have seemed pretty predictable the last two postseasons going in there. Teams having a read on them by the time they got to April, May, and it doesn't seem like anybody can get a read on the Cavs. We're sitting here trying to break down, what their tendencies are, and I think it's just kind of picking and choosing who the hot hand is, letting them get their buckets, and moving on to the next. But one thing's for certain, they're going to get Jared Allen involved. When they do, it's going to lead to a lot of success. Cavs win by 15 tonight because of it. And obviously, this was a big game in the Eastern Conference standings. As we're kind of getting closer now, we can keep an eye more and more, Chad, on positioning for standings. 59 games in, we got about 23 games left in the NBA season. Yeah. So you look at the Cavs, 37-22, tied with the Knicks now. They are 3 games back officially of the Boston Celtics as of right now, and Detroit is sitting up there at 42-14. Kind of crazy to think JB Bickerstaff, he gets canned here, a year, 2 years ago, and Cavs move on because they wanted somebody that get to win now mode, and here the Detroit Pistons are with Cade Cunningham with this team in win now mode. So I'm
happy for JB, man. I want the Cavs to beat them if it comes down to the playoffs, obviously. But I'm happy for JB.
Yeah, I think it's cool. You just can't win an Eastern Conference championship before the Cavs. Though would not look good.
Oh no, that'd be bad. That would give us tear it down vibes, right? We don't want that. We don't want
we want party vibes on East 9th again here in Cleveland. You know what I'm saying?
And I was going to tell you, too, by the way, they won by 15 tonight in a game that was otherwise pretty even. I mean, I'm looking at the stats. They didn't get out-rebounded, but they also did not rebound the Knicks. It was 44-44, even up. Both teams had 23 assists. The Knicks had 8 block shots. Cavs had 6. The Knicks turned the ball over a few more times, and on that, you see the Cavs scored 17 points off of turnovers versus the Knicks 10. But, points in the paint, 46-42. Largest lead was huge discrepancy. The Cavs got out to a 20-point lead at one point. The Knicks led by 2, I imagine, early on. But like I said, in a game that was otherwise pretty even, the Cavs managed to beat a pretty good New York team by 15. So that I guess you could look at that as a promising sign.
And one of the big talks of this Knicks team, and I've talked about it, is the depth of this team. So, I mean, that's where it's going to really, play out. If the Knicks are going to get to the finals, if it is New York's year to get out of the Eastern Conference, it's going to be because of that depth they have. They just added Sochan from the Spurs. They just continue to add pieces, and they've done over the last few years to where they really have a deep lineup. So, keep an eye on that. But obviously, the Cavs getting it done tonight, So,
we'll take it.
Happy with that. Yeah, we'll take that. We'll absolutely take that, Chad. And, with that being said, we, as Cavs fans, will celebrate tonight, and we'll see what happens the rest of the week here. The Cavaliers have some other games going on this week. They are tomorrow in Milwaukee against the Milwaukee Bucks, and Friday, February 27th, at Detroit, and Sunday they're in Brooklyn. So keep an eye on the Cavaliers.
That's about their toughest 4-game stretch for the rest of the season that they've starting with OKC. That's about it. I mean, they have a pretty favorable schedule the rest of the way. So,
yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Per Tankathon heading out of the All-Star break, it was the fifth easiest schedule was the Cavaliers going into the rest of the year. So
that's with that run of OKC, New York. You know what I mean? That's.
I know. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Well, hey, we'll keep an eye on the Cavaliers. We'll keep an eye on the Eastern Conference, all the NBA Jazz as it's heating up here. Not the Jazz necessarily, as they're tanking. But, yeah, with that being said, the good Jazz. The good Jazz. Yeah, the good Jazz. Another thing we want to let you know about as well is our good friend Allie Rose and Allie Rose Fragrances is doing an amazing deal with the Inside Edge Network. If you do the code InsideEdge20, that's capital I, capital E, InsideEdge20, all one word, then you get 20% off your entire order. Great candles, great body mists, cruelty-free, I mean, handmade. I mean, Allie Rose is doing the thing. I just celebrated a year in business just last week. So, I mean, just incredible. We are blessed to have her as a sponsor. Double A's been lighting up the candles on Midnight Run and on Main Event, and Chad has had his candles here. Me and Papa Moon, we're getting ours ready to go. So, just with that being said, make sure you go again. AllieRoseFragrances.com. The code InsideEdge20. And I mean, that's again promo code InsideEdge20, and get you a good candle, get you a body mist. I mean, Chad, I mean, it's gotta, yeah, you gotta be feeling good over there. You've had some good smells going in the house. You were allowed to light up the candle.
Yes,
and you took advantage of,
yeah.
Yeah, and you took advantage of a great deal.
Yeah, that's the best part, and we helped out. Someone who a small business. Again,
Yes.
You mentioned she just hit 1 year in business, which is amazing. That's a very, very tough landmark to hit for a small business like a startup. So we're proud of her, and it smells so good. I walked into my wife's office today. She works from home, so I walked into her office today at lunchtime, and she just looks up to me. I walked in, she's like, "It smells so good in here," and I was like, "It really does." Like, I'm not like, it really does. It's amazing. So yeah, super happy with the purchase, and just glad that. And by the way, I mean, go to find look up Allie Rose Fragrances. Go to follow her on social media as well. You can follow us, you can follow her. But yeah, please help her out. I mean, again, small businesses are where it's at. That's where I try to prefer to spend my money if I can. So very glad that she's a sponsor of the network and that we can help her out. She can help us out a little bit, and everybody smells good for it, right? We're happy about that.
I love it. AllieRoseFragrances.com. InsideEdge20 is your code. 20% off your entire order. Candles, body mist, all that good stuff. We'll put the code up during the break. And Chad and I are going to get situated. You go ahead and grab a caffeinated beverage. Grab your dinner if you're on the West Coast. When we come back, we're going to go over our Tuesday top 5. I've been keeping it a secret. I'm going to do very good here and just keep it a secret just a hair longer. And when we come back, we're going to get into our Tuesday top 5 and put a bow on this Tuesday edition of Inside Edge Primetime. That's Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network, and we're back after this. And welcome back to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. We are back for one final segment here on this Tuesday edition of Inside Edge Primetime. Again, on the Inside Edge Network. Go ahead and give us a follow at Inside Edge Net down below. Give Chad Bryan a follow at Real Chad Bryan and me over at The Man They Call Moon. That's over on Instagram where I do a lot of my business. Got my album release show this Friday coming up at Brothers Lounge in Lakewood. So $10 tickets if you want to come on out. Doors at 7, show at 8. I got my bros from Lahele, Mushu, Cliche, Geo also performing. Album Golden Child produced by my bro Narrator. Very excited to release this to the world. So excited about that and excited to be talking with you guys here throughout the week till that point. Monday through Thursday here with Primetime, and then like I said, Friday album release. So if you want to kick it with Eli Moon all week, you know where I'll be in Lakewood, Ohio on Friday. So with that being said, Chad, we have some exciting stuff to go over. We have the return of our favorite segment, Tuesday Top 5.
Yeah.
Our favorite Tuesday segment, that is, because we have many favorite segments. It just depends what day of the week it is, you know. But our favorite segment for Tuesday. And would you like to tell the people, you know, kind of give them a breakdown of like what we decided on? You know, we went to the drawing board. We had a few segments or a few topics we wanted to talk about for our Tuesday Top 5. Rank, you know, our list. Have the people chime in through all the socials. Let them know, you know, what we're thinking.
Yeah.
You want to let the people know?
Yeah, let them know. First of all, I want to say to our segments, if you're listening, much like I tell my kids, I love you equally. I don't love any one of you any more than any of the other. We love all of our segments very equally. It just depends. Sometimes it's your day, sometimes it's not. I tell my kids that too as well.
I like that. All right.
So, yeah, the Tuesday Top 5. Listen, we could have gone a lot of different ways with this. We had many really serious, you know, topics that we could have broken down. We had quite a discussion. We said, should we do this? Should we do that?
Yeah.
No, let's not do that. That's not fun. No, whatever. You stink. I quit the show. We had an argument. We argued a little bit about it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Maybe not even at all. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It makes it sound more fun if you're watching. It's like, oh, there's some drama. No drama, but we did decide to go with something a little bit sillier this week. So I'm just gonna start the music. This week's Tuesday Top 5 is, well, mascots. Because who doesn't love a good mascot, right? So before we get into the top 5, because there were, quite frankly, Eli, too many to choose from, and we left some really good mascots off this top 5 list.
Yeah, we did.
We left a really, really, really good one out of even the honorable mention. We didn't put the San Diego chicken in the honorable mention.
Oh, they may never let us live that one down.
Yeah, if you were eating your dinner on the West Coast, now you spit it out all over the table, and you're probably whatever. You're mad. Send an email. Well, there I am at Real Chad Bryan. It's my fault. Okay.
Yeah.
At me on Instagram, on Twitter. It's my fault.
He makes the graphics, folks. It's his fault.
It's all my fault. So let's go through our honorable mention. And I made sure to use a blurry picture of this first mascot because I'm a Braves fan. So our first honorable mention is Mr. Met. You know, kind of a classic mascot, even though I'm not a big Mets. Well, it's not. I don't even like the Mets at all. I'm not a big Mets fan. Just don't like the Mets, but that's okay. Their mascot's okay. He seems like a nice guy. He's got a baseball for a head. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? He's got his gloves on. I don't know how that hat stays on top of there, but that's fine. So our first honorable mention is Mr. Met.
Yeah, he's restoring order. You know, he's
absolutely.
He's you know, in the Big Apple they got a big baseball, and that's Mr. Met. You know, and he's keeping it together. You know, the Mets obviously a classy organization for the most part, so you know he's trying to keep it classy over there, Mr. Met.
Yeah, no confirmation that that's not owner Steve Cohen in that outfit, by the way.
Yeah, cannot confirm or deny.
Yeah, we don't know. Let's move on. Our second honorable mention. I think this is good. This is where people are going to get mad at us. I have already heard pre-show. We may have one of our viewers that says, "Hey, you have to include this mascot in your top 5 because he's classic." And we said, "The hell with that. He's an honorable mention. It's Gritty."
Yeah.
Philadelphia Flyers mascot Gritty. There he is. Right. Boom. He pops up. He's like, "Hey, peace. What happened to me? Why didn't I make your top 5?" To be honest with you, man, I'm just not a big hockey guy. I haven't seen a ton of your work, Gritty. I'm sorry. I apologize. Well, you'll see where this list goes, and you'll see where a lot of my viewership goes when you see the whole top 5. So
I gotta give a shout out to my bro Omar, Chad, because I talked to him and kind of gave him a little bit of a sneak peek, you know, of the list. I said I can't really tell you who's on the list, but I can tell you who's not on the list, and it's Gritty. And he said, That's ridiculous because think about how much Gritty's accomplished in such a short time. He's becoming like a pop culture icon.
Yep.
So I knew we were going to get some flack for this one, Chad.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gritty, I did say maybe top 5, near the back end of the top 5, but I'm okay with honorable mention. He's at least mentioned, and he hasn't been around as long as some of the other guys. So in such a short span for him to make this run, I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, Omar's not wrong, and Omar might be a viewer. No, at least he didn't get completely axed like the San Diego Chicken. Sorry, San Diego Chicken. I agree. He's entertaining. It's my fault. It's the West Coast bias. I didn't mean to do it. It's just that when it happens out there, I'm in bed. I don't know about it, so it's fine. Our third honorable mention is this next mascot has a name, but quite honestly, it's Nightmare Fuel. You never know what face it's going to have on. You never know how it's going to be decorated. It's this thing. It's not even walking the direction where its face is going. I don't know what Stanford I don't know how they ended up with a tree. I get it. It's the cardinal. It's fine. It's a tree. I'm not sure how they ended up with that. I don't know what that is. That is like that's a melted ice cream cone and a paper mache project in kindergarten, all put together into one.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what that is. Does that thing stay together? Is that one piece, that outfit?
And it used to throw me off all the time because I used to play NCAA, college football, NCAA games, and you could always do the mascot game, like we could be all the mascots, and I would definitely be this ... thing, and I just would amaze me how they'd catch the football and run up and down tackles out, no hands, like Waka Flocka. Before Waka Flocka was doing it, this guy was out here doing it, this tree, and I mean, just crazy. But yeah, it brings me back to like when I see this mascot, I think of the NCAA games and running amok with this tree. But yeah, I'm not really sure where the face and the rest of the body is supposed to be. I don't know, Chad. That's why it's an honorable mention and not top 5.
Yeah, honestly, that thing looks like it could eat you. I'm a grown man. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our third honorable because it's fun. It's fun to talk about, right? It's the Stanford tree. It's the thing. I don't know what that is. So let's get to the top 5 list. Okay, we're gonna switch over. Boom. Top 5 mascots. And Eli. Oh, and by the way, no confirmation whether or not that's Waka Flocka. It could be Waka. We don't know. It could be Waka Flocka flaming that. We don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Going as Mr. Met, we have no idea.
It's true.
We'll work on figuring this stuff out in future shows for you guys. Okay. So wait, Eli, did you mention college football? Did you mention the mascot game?
I did.
Did you mention that? Because our top 5 mascots may include, well, one of the who's number 5? Well, let me tell you. Number 5 is an official member of the Mascot Hall of Fame in Whiting, Indiana, after securing over, Eli, listen to this, 19,000 votes from 67 countries in just 2 weeks of online voting. This is crazy, right? This guy is a fan favorite from South Africa to Finland, from Chile to Canada, from New Zealand to South Korea, and all over EA Sports back in the day. It's none other than Syracuse University mascot Otto the Orange.
Yeah, another legend. If you weren't running up and down the field with Otto the Orange, then what were you doing? I mean,
right.
You think about Syracuse, we made the argument between Stanford and Otto the Orange. I argue just because Syracuse has a national championship with Carmelo and in basketball, Otto the Orange, obviously the mascot of the entire university, so I think that gives them the nod over Stanford. But yeah, Otto the Orange. I mean, look at the guy. He's out here living his best life.
Absolutely. I always tried to squeeze in a mascot game with Otto the Orange. Squeeze. Okay. Real quick fun facts about Otto. He hasn't always been Otto. First he was Clyde, then he was Woody the Orange, and then they finally settled on Otto. And by the way, that little costume weighs 10 pounds. You got to be in shape to run that thing around.
Wow.
You know a little bit about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, if you're wondering, if you get tired as Otto the Orange, some things that I found out he can do is he can pilot a scooter. He can push himself pretty good on a scooter. He pedals a little orange bike with a basket, and he loves a good golf cart ride. So that's Otto the Orange.
All right.
Okay, so let's go to number 4. I'm just gonna read the description, and I think you guys will love this. I feel like might have missed the assignment. Whatever. I did good. Number 4, an American term for a small hamburger, typically around 2 inches across, made with a bun or a dinner roll. That can be served as hors d'oeuvres, snacks, or entrees. They've really become a popular game day appetizer in the United States. It's our favorite mascot, Eli.
Are you talking
the Slider?
Yes. Okay. Okay.
It's Slider, the Guardians mascot.
That's the wrong. That's not him, Chad.
That's not him.
That's not Slider.
Slider. Oh, is he? What is it? Are you telling me is that Slider?
Ah, there he is.
That's Slider.
There he is. There he is. That's my guy. And I'll tell you,
Well,
you can't go to a game.
Sandwich?
Look, you can't go to a game for the Guardians without running into the Slider. The energy from him is unmatched. He's involved. He's getting to all the fans. He's running around with the hot dogs, getting them ready before their hot dog derby. I mean, Slider is pure aura. If you're at a Guardians game, an Indians game, whatever, but now it's Guardians, obviously. But, back in the day, he still was rocking. He's been with both the name switch to everything. Slider's been through it all. He's been through World Series losses. He's been through a name switch. He's been through the good, the bad, the ugly. Everything Slider has been through.
He's been
here.
Grinder.
Oh, no. So, Slider, pure aura. And number 4, not too bad, my friend.
Not bad. Sorry I got the wrong Slider there. I guess I missed the mark. Well, that's okay. We got the silly music. It's fine. Let's just move on to number 3. I'm embarrassed now. I'm just going to read number 3. At 60 years old, Eli, our next mascot, number 3 on the top 5 list, has rare knowledge. He knows what it feels like to be older than me. In October of 1965, this nutty mascot was born, and while he's taken on many forms throughout the years, it doesn't matter because he was named 2015 and 2019 UCA Mascot National Champion. He was inducted into the National Mascot Hall of Fame again in Whiting, Indiana in 2007, and he remains a permanent fixture on the sidelines at where? Ohio State football games, because it's Brutus Buckeye is our number 3 mascot. I think Brutus is good at number 3, right?
Yeah, I think so. And a lot of people out there would be correcting you, saying the Ohio State University, Chad. So.
Okay.
With that being said, Brutus.
That's a weird glitch in personality, but that's okay. That's fine. I love Ohio State. That's weird. I'm sorry, man. That's fine.
Yeah, well, there are some people out there. We just got to make sure we appease the masses, But Brutus. Yeah, a national champion, obviously, revered for dancing after Ohio State puts up 70 on some poor school from the Big Ten or whatever. I mean, he is just out there doing his thing, vibing out, in great shape. Brutus a Buckeye, and I feel good about Brutus being number 3 on this list. My brother, shout out Austin, he's a Buckeye, getting his rest of his degree there at Ohio State, and represent little bro, represent Ohio State, and little OHIO action there, Brutus the Buckeye.
All right. Well, nothing to do but move on to our number 2 guy. The number 2 mascot on our list, on our top 5 list, the InsideEdge Primetime Tuesday top 5 list. He's described as a product of science run amok. He actually one time nearly made off with Bryce Harper's $330 million contract, the whole check, after tricking Harper into signing a proclamation making the day National Bryce Harper Day. But when this mascot pulled the check away, or pulled the paper away, it was actually Bryce Harper's whole contract check for $330 million. He didn't get away with it, though. Harper ran him down and caught him. It's fine. His mascot abilities maybe are possibly really only outshadowed by his social media burns, which honestly, Eli, might be second only to Wendy's. Really proud of this guy. It's Braves, Atlanta Braves mascot, Blooper.
Yeah, I know you're a Braves guy, my bro. So we had to let you get this one in, and Blooper, look at him. He's just a happy guy, Part of me when I, part of me when I look at Blooper, I see the pain of Guardians fans from 1995.
I'm sorry, I don't want that. I didn't want that for you guys. I didn't want that.
Yeah, we see the pain. I think of Papa Moon. I think of the pain that Blooper and the Braves caused. So while he looks happy in that picture, don't think that he couldn't put a whole world of hurt on a whole Cleveland fan base. So,
well, if it makes you feel better, Blooper wasn't there in 1995, so it's not Blooper's fault.
That's fair. That's fair. All right.
That is fair. Also, that pain, that 1995 pain, is the reason that I, as a Braves fan, screamed so loudly and wildly at my TV during the 2016 World Series. I really, really wanted Cleveland to beat the Cubs. I really, really was rooting hard, man. I've never yelled at my TV that loudly for a team that wasn't like my first team, right? Like I wanted.
I guess me and Blooper, we're one and the same. Then neither one of us have experienced a Guardians championship, so.
Ouch.
So
yeah. That's tough. That came from. I didn't say that. Listen, that was Eli Moon. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, here, I'm in trouble now. I have to stay in the studio tonight. Good thing I have a bed in here. You want to see? My wife says we don't talk about 1995 here.
Yeah, Papa Moon would be upset too. He'd be like, "No, my heart, 95 or 97." But
sorry, 97 was rough too.
Oh, all right, Chad. Let's get to number one before we get canceled.
Let's by our producer, Double A. Okay, number one on the Tuesday top 5 mascot list. Number one is a charter member of the Mascot Hall of Fame in Whiting, Indiana. That's right. He was inducted. He was one of the first. He was actually the first member inducted to the Hall of Fame. I believe. I couldn't verify that, but I believe he was the very, very first mascot to go into the Mascot Hall of Fame. Having been in, like I said, he was inducted into the hallowed halls of the Mascot Hall of Fame in 2005. He's been on TV from starring in This Is Sports Center commercials alongside Derek Jeter, to The Late Show with David Letterman, all the way to The Simpsons. Well, kind of. They kind of spoofed him on The Simpsons. It wasn't exactly him, but that's okay. Yeah. Still made The Simpsons closer than I have. And honestly, it's one of the first thoughts that pops into my head when you even say the word mascot. So in all seriousness, the number one mascot on our list is the Philly Fanatic. I think he's like the mascot, right?
Yeah, and you got to be a tough guy to be in Philadelphia and be out here rocking. I mean, let's be honest. He's not necessarily the most fit in type of guy. I mean, he kind of stands out. So I mean, in the rough streets of Philadelphia, sometimes are you going to be able to make it? And the Philly Fanatic has made it. He's been able to in a city that they took out Santa Claus with snowballs, and I mean, this guy is rocking and rolling. This is the true definition of grit. I know they got gritty in Philadelphia, but you want to talk about pure grit? You want to talk about Rocky Balboa and type of inspiration?
Yes.
And you're looking no other than the Philly Fanatic.
Yeah, riding the 4-wheeler around, shooting hot dogs into the stands with a hot dog cannon. I mean, who hasn't at some point in their life said, "I'd really like to have a hot dog cannon," right? Well, the Philly Fanatic has one and a 4-wheeler. I mean, that's living the life.
Yeah.
There you go. That is the Inside Edge Primetime Tuesday top 5.
That's what I'm talking about. That's our top 5. We'll come back next Tuesday with another top 5. And we will be back with you again tomorrow and Thursday, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. But before we get out of here for this Tuesday edition, Chad, some final thoughts for the people at home.
When you go to Guardians games this summer, pay attention to what Slider's doing. I don't know if you know this or not. Okay, so this is actually a really kind of a funny story. Game 4 of the 1995 ALCS. At the same time that Carlos Baerga was ripping a single to left. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? He was ripping a single, come on, man, into left field. Slider got so excited that at that time he actually backed up too far. He fell off the wall, hurt himself pretty seriously, had to get checked out by the medics there in the stadium before they took him to the hospital. So he wasn't around. Maybe had a little bit of a costume job. I'm not sure what happened there. I think he was okay. He would recover. But that's kind of how he ingratiated himself a little bit to Cleveland fans. He sort of had to go through it a little bit. He had to take it, and much like in the city of Cleveland, you got to take a tumble, right, before you can get back up on the horse and ride and have all the fanfare. We're a blue-collar city. We're tough. So just please, watch Slider and think about, by the way, when it's 95 degrees in July and you're sitting there and you want to pour a beer on your head because it's so hot in the sun, think about poor Slider inside that thing, and it's 180 degrees inside there, man. It's wild. That's all. That's my.
I can attest to that. That's it's tough, pal. It's tough.
It sounds tough.
I'm gonna.
I struggle in a t-shirt and shorts out there in that weather. So
you know. I think I'm just gonna agree with Chad's thoughts about Slider. And baseball season is upon us, almost. Spring training starting up. So with that being said, just get ready for some exciting baseball weather. Some home runs, some strikeouts, and it's all the fun stuff. Spring starting to get back in the full swing. Like I said, if you're here in the Cleveland area, step out to my album release show. $10 tickets. Show at 8:00. Doors are at 7. Step at a little early before 8. Get situated. Say what's up to everybody. Get the vibes of the community, and we're gonna rock out. So just a lot of good stuff to keep an eye on here. Also on the Inside Edge Network, here on Inside Edge Net, on all the socials. So make sure you go ahead and follow, like, subscribe, and choose us as your source of sports, entertainment, mental health, everything in between. So with that being said, I want to remind everybody we have Midnight Run coming up after us. Going to have a little pause in between while we get Double A situated. And then at midnight to 1, Double A Anthony Alford Midnight Run with Anthony Alford. But until tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Chad and I are going to sign off. We hope everybody stays safe, stays well. You may see me in about 45 minutes or so. But for Chad, you'll see him tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And until then, this is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. We will talk to everybody tomorrow.
Just kidding.